Deep in the heart of the Amazon rainforest, where towering trees block out the sun and rivers twist like serpents through uncharted land, there are whispers of something extraordinary, secrets buried beneath layers of time and tangled vines. For centuries, indigenous tribes have spoken of strange artifacts, machines not made by human hands, hidden in the jungle's embrace. These aren't just myths. Modern explorers and researchers have stumbled upon clues that defy explanation: geometric patterns carved into stone, metallic fragments with no known origin, and structures so precise they seem engineered by minds far ahead of their time. What if the Amazon isn't just a relic of the ancient world, but a vault holding forgotten technology? Imagine standing at the edge of a clearing where the air hums with the buzz of insects and the weight of history. Local legends tell of gods who descended from the sky, bringing tools that could shape mountains and heal the sick. These stories, passed down through generations, might sound like fantasy until you hear about the discoveries. In the past few decades, satellite imagery has revealed vast geometric earthworks hidden beneath the canopy, some dating back over 2,000 years. Then there are the strange metallic objects found in remote riverbeds, composed of alloys that don't match any known ancient civilization. Could these be remnants of advanced machines left behind by a culture we've yet to fully understand? This isn't just about solving a puzzle, it's about rewriting history. The idea that ancient peoples might have possessed technology rivaling our own challenges everything we think we know about human progress. Were they gifted knowledge from elsewhere, or did they develop it independently only for it to vanish into the jungle's grip? As we venture deeper into this mystery, we'll uncover indigenous accounts, examine baffling artifacts, and explore theories that blur the line between legend and reality. The Amazon has guarded its secrets for millennia, but now the truth might finally be within reach. Stick with me, because what we're about to uncover could change how you see the ancient world forever. The Amazon rainforest isn't just the lungs of our planet. It's a colossal, living puzzle, spanning over 5.5 million square kilometers. Most of this vast wilderness remains unexplored, its secrets locked behind walls of impenetrable foliage and winding rivers that have deterred even the most determined explorers. That isolation is key. While ancient sites in other parts of the world have been plundered, mapped, or eroded by time, the Amazon's dense canopy has acted like a natural vault, preserving ruins and relics untouched for centuries. Think about it, less than 10% of the Amazon has been thoroughly surveyed by archaeologists. That means 90% of its mysteries still lie waiting beneath centuries of decay and growth. And what we have found is staggering. Hidden beneath the jungle's green veil are earthworks so massive they rival the pyramid's geometric trenches, mounds, and even what appear to be ancient road systems, all suggesting advanced engineering. Some of these structures, like the recently discovered geoglyphs in Brazil, form precise circles and squares visible only from the air. Who built them? And why? Then there are the stories. Indigenous tribes, the true guardians of this land, speak of cities that once thrived here, glittering with gold and humming with technology beyond our understanding. The Yawanawa people tell of the Shuku, beings who descended from the stars with tools that could heal or destroy. The Kayapo describe a lost civilization that harnessed the power of lightning. These aren't just myths, they're oral histories passed down through generations, now backed by tangible evidence. What makes the Amazon unique isn't just its size, but its defiance of history as we know it. Western scholars long dismissed the idea that complex societies could flourish in a jungle, assuming the environment was too harsh. But discoveries like Terra Preta, the mysteriously fertile black earth created by ancient humans, prove they not only survived, they thrived. The deeper we dig, the clearer it becomes. The Amazon wasn't a wild frontier. It was a cradle of innovation, perhaps even home to technologies we've yet to comprehend. And that's what makes this mystery so electrifying. Every uncharted bend in the river, every newly uncovered mound could rewrite the story of human civilization. The Amazon doesn't just hide ruins, it guards answers to questions we haven't even thought to ask. Long before satellites revealed the Amazon's hidden earthworks, European explorers were already stumbling upon artifacts that baffled them. In 1541, Spanish conquistador Francisco de Orellana led the first recorded expedition down the Amazon River, and his chronicles mention encounters with tribes wielding tools of unearthly brilliance, metal blades that never dulled, ornaments that glowed faintly in the dark, and intricate carvings depicting devices resembling gears and pulleys. His crew dismissed these as tricks of the jungle light or pagan idols, but the descriptions are eerily specific. A century later, Portuguese settlers reported finding strange metallic fragments in riverbeds, pieces that fused together seamlessly despite having no visible seams or solder. One Jesuit missionary, Father Cristobal de Cunha, wrote in 1639 of a tribe that guarded a singing stone, a slab covered in glyphs that emitted a low hum when touched. He assumed it was demonic and urged its destruction, but the account lingers in forgotten archives. The most compelling testimony comes from 18th century naturalist Charles-Marie de la Condamine, who spent years mapping the Amazon. In his journals, he describes a village where elders showed him a hollow metal sphere, perfectly smooth, with no opening or seam. When shaken, it produced a sound like distant thunder, yet it weighed almost nothing. La Condamine, a man of science, was mystified. He sent sketches to the French Academy, but the response was laughter. The prevailing view was that the Amazon's indigenous people were primitive, incapable of metallurgy, let alone advanced engineering. Why were these accounts ignored? Partly arrogance, partly fear. European colonizers saw themselves as bringers of civilization, so the idea that savages might possess superior technology threatened their worldview. Artifacts that didn't fit biblical timelines or classical models were labeled hoaxes or heresies. Even when tangible evidence surfaced, like the Lanzon cube, a metallic object with precise 90-degree angles found in Peru in 1712, it was locked away in church basements as unholy curiosities. But the jungle remembers what history forgets. Modern metallurgists examining rare surviving artifacts confirm some are made of alloys like bronze with trace elements unknown in Europe at the time. Others show machining marks suggesting tools beyond indigenous tech levels. The most haunting detail, many accounts describe these objects as gifts given to tribes by visitors from the stars or the first people who promised to return one day. These explorers' journals aren't just dusty relics, they're breadcrumbs leading us back to a truth that was suppressed. The Amazon's secrets weren't just hidden by vines, they were buried by prejudice. Now, as we rediscover these clues, we're forced to ask, what else did they miss? Percy Fawcett's name is synonymous with obsession, the kind that lures men into the unknown and never lets them go. A British explorer and military officer, Fawcett became convinced in the early 1900s that somewhere in the uncharted Amazon lay a lost city of unimaginable sophistication. He called it simply Z, but this wasn't just another ruin. Fawcett believed it was the remnant of a civilization so advanced its technology rivaled or even surpassed modern engineering. His theories weren't pulled from thin air. During his decades of mapping the Amazon for the Royal Geographical Society, he'd collected indigenous accounts of gleaming cities with towering arches and machines that moved without hands. What set Fawcett apart from other adventurers was his meticulous documentation. His journals, filled with sketches and cryptic notes, describe strange artifacts he encountered. Stone tablets etched with precision that defied primitive tools, metal fragments that seemed fused by heat beyond any known forge. One entry from 1911 details a tribe showing him a gateway of light, a rock formation that emitted a faint glow at night. The elders claimed it was a relic from the Sky People, a doorway their ancestors used to travel between worlds. To Fawcett, these weren't myths, they were clues. Then there's the vanishing. In 1925, Fawcett embarked on his final expedition, convinced he was just weeks away from finding Z. He, his son Jack, and a friend vanished without a trace. The last message he sent back spoke of monoliths humming like bees and a valley where the trees grew in perfect spirals. Search parties found abandoned camps but no bodies. To this day, no one knows if he was killed, captured, or simply walked into a city the jungle refused to give back. Fawcett's disappearance ignited a century of speculation. Some say he found Z and chose to stay. Others believe he uncovered something so dangerous it was silenced. Modern explorers still follow his maps, now layered with satellite data and ground-penetrating radar. And occasionally, they find things like the 2012 discovery of a vast network of stone structures in Brazil's Mato Grosso region, eerily close to Fawcett's last coordinates. The stones bear tool marks suggesting machining, not chiseling. What makes Fawcett's story so compelling isn't just the mystery of his fate, it's the question he forced us to ask. If he was right, if even a fraction of his theories held truth, then history as we know it is incomplete. The Amazon might not just hide a lost city. It could hold proof that our timeline of human achievement is missing pages. Fawcett. It may have been the last to read. Among the most puzzling relics hidden in the Amazon are the so-called stone spheres, near perfectly round boulders scattered across remote riverbanks and forest clearings. Some are small enough to cradle in your arms, while others loom taller than a person, weighing several tons. At first glance, they could be written off as quirks of nature, weathered by wind and water over millennia. But their symmetry is too precise. Measurements reveal deviations of less than 2 millimeters from perfect sphericality, a degree of accuracy that defies natural erosion. Even more curious, many cluster in geometric patterns, aligned like celestial maps or arranged in straight lines stretching hundreds of meters. Local legends add layers to the mystery. The Satare Moe people recount that these spheres are the eggs of the moon, dropped from the sky by a celestial serpent. Another tribe claims they're anchors used by ancient sky canoes to tether themselves to Earth. While these stories might sound poetic, they gain eerie credibility when you examine the stones up close. Some bear faint carvings, spirals, grids, and symbols resembling constellations worn almost smooth by time but unmistakably artificial. The debate over their origin splits archaeologists. One camp insists they're natural formations, citing the Amazon's history of volcanic activity and sediment deposition. Yet geologists point out that local bedrock lacks the uniformity needed to erode into such perfect shapes. The other camp argues they're man-made, possibly tools or ceremonial objects. Supporting this, researchers have found stone spheres in Costa Rica's Diquis Delta, nearly identical in form and precision, but definitively crafted by a pre-Columbian culture between 300 and 1500 CE. The Costa Rican spheres were placed near graves and settlements, hinting at a ritual purpose. Could the Amazonian versions serve a similar function? The most tantalizing theory comes from materials analysis. Core samples of several Amazonian spheres show traces of an unknown polishing agent, something slicker than sand or water. A few even contain microscopic metallic flecks, suggesting they were shaped or finished with tools beyond the region's known technology. If these spheres were sculpted by human hands, the implications are staggering. Who had the knowledge and the need to carve perfect spheres in a jungle where survival was already a daily struggle? Perhaps the answer lies in what we're only beginning to understand about the Amazon's ancient societies. These weren't scattered tribes barely scraping by, but interconnected cultures with time and resources to spare, enough to engineer marvels. The spheres might be more than artifacts, they could be messages waiting for us to decipher their true purpose. And if Costa Rica's spheres are any clue, we've only found the first pieces of a puzzle spanning continents. Among the dense foliage and winding rivers of the Amazon, indigenous legends speak of creatures unlike any animal or spirit, mechanical beings that flew through the sky on wings of metal. The Yanomami people describe the peripori, shimmering birds made of an unbreakable substance, their movements precise and unnatural. Elders say they emitted sounds like bees trapped in a gourd, hovering silently before disappearing into the clouds. The Ashaninka tell of Tsinyi, human-like figures with limbs that clicked and whirred as they walked, their skin cold to the touch. These stories, passed down for generations, might sound like allegories until you hear the uncanny parallels to modern robotics and drones. What's striking isn't just the descriptions, but the consistency across tribes separated by hundreds of miles. The Matsays, who have had minimal contact with outsiders, recount tales of sky snakes that carried no passengers, yet obeyed commands from handheld stones, echoes of remote-controlled technology. The Disana still avoid certain clearings where their ancestors claimed metal men mined the earth without rest, extracting minerals with tools that cut rock like soft fruit. Could these narratives be distorted memories of advanced machinery? Archaeologists have long dismissed such accounts as symbolic, but recent discoveries complicate that view. In 2018, a team documenting Yanomami oral histories stumbled upon a cave painting in northern Brazil depicting winged objects with segmented tails, resembling modern schematic drawings of drones. Nearby, they found tiny metal beads composed of an alloy not native to the region. Even more baffling are the Yakuruna legends of the Shipibo-Kanibo people, which describe underwater palaces guarded by beings with eyes that glowed like fireflies, a detail that aligns eerily with the illuminated lenses of deep-sea exploration drones. The most provocative theory comes from anthropologist Dr. Luisa Ortega, who spent years living with the Yawanawa. She recorded elders describing a great voice from the sky that instructed tribes on agriculture and medicine, speaking through a mouth of moving parts. Ortega notes the similarity to AI-assisted language models, but the kicker: the Yawanawa insist this occurred before European contact, placing it no later than the 1500s. Skeptics argue these stories are merely projections, tribes interpreting unfamiliar technology after encountering colonizers. Yet many accounts predate outside influence preserved in isolation. The deeper you dig, the harder it becomes to dismiss the overlap between these myths and 21st century innovation. Were the ancients witnessing, or perhaps even building, machines we've only recently reinvented? If so, the Amazon's legends aren't just folklore. They're a whisper across time, warning us that the line between myth and history is thinner than we think. Beneath the Amazon's dense canopy lies another world entirely, a labyrinth of tunnels snaking through the earth, some stretching for hundreds of kilometers. These aren't crude burrows or natural caves. Eyewitness accounts describe passages with walls polished smooth, as if melted by tremendous heat, and sections lined with thin sheets of an unidentified metallic alloy. Indigenous guides refuse to enter certain tunnels, whispering that they're roads of the old ones, built long before humans walked the surface. One of the most well-documented examples is the Teos cave system in Ecuador's Amazon region. In 1969, Argentine researcher Juan Morix claimed to have found a vast underground network there, its walls adorned with strange symbols and its floors littered with metallic artifacts. But what stunned him were the ceilings perfectly arched, as if engineered to bear immense weight. Local Shuar tribespeople warned him that deeper chambers held machines that sang, though none dared venture far enough to confirm. Decades later, British engineer Stan Hall organized a joint expedition with astronaut Neil Armstrong, hoping to validate Morix's findings. While they mapped miles of tunnels, their most baffling discovery was a series of smooth, glass-like veins running through the rock, unlike any known geological formation. Then there are the Chincanas of Peru, legendary tunnels rumored to connect ancient sites like Cusco and Paititi. Spanish chronicles from the 1600s describe conquistadors stumbling upon entrances sealed with massive stone doors, their surfaces etched with warnings in an unknown script. Modern explorers using ground-penetrating radar have confirmed portions of these tunnels, some descending vertically for hundreds of meters before branching horizontally. The precision is unsettling. Corners meet at exact 90-degree angles, and airflow patterns suggest sophisticated ventilation features unheard of in pre-Columbian engineering. So who built them? Theories range from the pragmatic to the extraordinary. Some archaeologists argue they were mining operations, tapping into the Amazon's rich deposits of gold and copper. Yet the tunnels often lead nowhere, bypassing mineral veins entirely. Others propose they served as hidden highways, allowing ancient cultures to move undetected through enemy territory. But the most provocative idea comes from researchers like Dr. David Hatcher Childress, who points to the tunnel's recurring motifs: star maps, celestial alignments, and chambers shaped like capacitors or energy storage devices. Could these subterranean networks be remnants of an ancient power grid? The answer might lie in a detail most explorers overlook: sound. Multiple teams report strange acoustic phenomena in the tunnels, from harmonic humming at specific frequencies to echoes that last far longer than physics should allow. In 2014, a Brazilian survey team recorded vibrations in a tunnel near Manaus that matched the resonant frequency of quartz, a mineral known for its piezoelectric properties. Coincidence or evidence that these passages were designed not just for travel, but for harnessing energy? Whether mines, highways, or something more enigmatic, the Amazon's tunnels force us to reconsider the technological capabilities of lost civilizations. Every unexplored passage could hold clues to a history we've barely begun to piece together, one where the line between myth and machine grows fainter with each discovery. When we picture the Amazon, we imagine an untamed wilderness, a place where nature reigns supreme. But hidden beneath that lush green facade lies evidence of something extraordinary: a sprawling, ancient network of water management so advanced it rivals modern engineering. Across the Brazilian state of Acre, satellite images reveal geometric patterns of canals and reservoirs, some stretching over hundreds of kilometers, their straight lines and perfect angles betraying human design. These aren't haphazard ditches, they're precision-cut waterways, some dating back over 2,500 years, designed to control flooding, irrigate crops, and even redirect entire rivers. The scale is staggering. One system near the Xingu River features interconnected reservoirs linked by channels wide enough to navigate by canoe, with sluice gates that could regulate water flow with startling accuracy. Even more impressive are the raised fields, vast agricultural platforms built above the floodplain, fed by an intricate web of canals that kept crops thriving year-round. These weren't just survival tactics, they were feats of hydraulic engineering that required deep understanding of topography, seasonal cycles, and fluid dynamics, knowledge supposedly beyond the reach of ancient jungle societies. But here's where it gets strange. Some of these structures show signs of tools or techniques that shouldn't exist in pre-Columbian South America. In Bolivia's Llanos de Mojos, researchers found canals with edges so smooth they appear polished, as if cut by machines rather than stone or wood. Even more puzzling are the ring ditches, circular trenches with perfectly calculated gradients that drain water at precise rates, some aligned with solstice events. The indigenous people living there today insist they didn't build them. Their oral histories speak of a time when great voices from the earth directed the digging, using sticks that made the ground soft. Could these legends hint at lost technology? Modern engineers struggle to explain how such precision was achieved without metal tools or written mathematics. One theory points to the mysterious black earth patches found near many of these sites, a soil enriched by a still unknown process, rich enough to sustain large populations. Some researchers speculate it was a byproduct of advanced composting or even chemical treatment, techniques that would require knowledge we've only recently rediscovered. The most haunting question isn't just how these systems were built, but why they were abandoned. By the time Europeans arrived, many canals were already silted over, their purpose forgotten. Were they the work of a society that collapsed under its own ambition? Or did they serve a function we've yet to comprehend, perhaps even powering machines lost to time? Every unearthed channel, every mapped reservoir brings us closer to an unsettling possibility. The Amazon wasn't just home to ancient engineers. It might have been a testing ground for technologies we're still struggling to replicate. Scattered across isolated pockets of the Amazon basin lie patches of a substance that shouldn't exist: black, glassy slabs embedded in the earth, some spanning hundreds of square meters. This isn't volcanic obsidian or naturally formed silica. When researchers first analyzed samples in the 1980s, they found traces of aluminum, titanium, and even rare earth metals fused together at temperatures exceeding 1,700 degrees Celsius, heat levels impossible to achieve with traditional indigenous fire pits or kilns. The composition matches industrial slag, the waste product of modern metal refineries, but carbon dating places some deposits over 2,000 years old, long before the advent of such technology in the Americas. Local tribes have their own explanations. The Yanomami call these glass fields periweti, meaning burnt bones of the sky. Their creation stories tell of a time when firebirds dueled above the forest, their weapons leaving behind rivers of molten stone. The Siona people describe a great flood followed by a rain of fire that turned the earth to glass. While these sound like mythological allegories, they align strikingly with geological evidence. Some glass patches show impact fracturing patterns consistent with sudden, intense heating, the kind produced by high-energy events like plasma discharges or directed energy beams. The mystery deepens when you examine the glass under magnification. Certain samples contain microscopic spheres of pure iron and nickel, identical to those found at nuclear test sites or meteorite impacts. Yet there are no craters nearby, no evidence of celestial strikes. Even stranger, some slabs bear what appear to be tool marks, grooves cut with precision that would require diamond-tipped implements. Archaeologists have uncovered similar glass formations in Egypt's Western Desert and Libya's Great Sand Sea, sites linked to theoretical ancient energy experiments. Could the Amazon's glass fields be remnants of comparable technologies? The most tantalizing clue comes from a discovery in 2019. Near the border of Brazil and Bolivia, researchers found a glass deposit intersected by thin veins of an unknown conductive material. Initial tests suggest it behaves like a semiconductor, capable of channeling electrical currents under specific conditions. Indigenous elders in the area refused to approach the site, claiming it's Zapiri ground, a place where spirit energy becomes tangible. Modern engineers struggle to explain how such a material could form naturally, let alone be intentionally incorporated into ancient glass. Whether by accident or design, these glass fields force us to reconsider the technological narrative of pre-Columbian societies. The Amazon's secrets aren't just hidden in its soil, they're fused into its very bones, waiting for us to decipher their electrifying truth. From above, the Amazon appears as an endless sea of green until you peel back the canopy with technology. Modern LiDAR scans, those laser pulses that penetrate dense foliage to map the ground beneath, have revealed a startling secret: vast geometric patterns etched into the earth, stretching across thousands of square kilometers. These aren't random formations. Perfect circles, rectangles, and grids emerge from the data, some aligned with celestial events, others arranged in complex networks resembling circuit boards. Take the Acre geoglyphs in western Brazil: over 500 massive earthworks, some dating back 2,000 years. Each spans hundreds of meters, with trenches precisely 6 meters wide and 3 meters deep, forming intricate shapes visible only from the air. What's baffling isn't just their scale, but their uniformity. The angles are razor sharp, the curves mathematically perfect. Archaeologists initially dismissed them as ceremonial sites, but the layout suggests something more pragmatic. Many geoglyphs sit atop underground aquifers, their trenches mirroring the water tables below. Others align with solstice sunrises, their walls designed to cast shadows that bisect the enclosures at exact moments. Could these have functioned as ancient power stations, harnessing geothermal or celestial energy? Then there's the Xingu Grid, a sprawling network of canals and mounds uncovered in 2018. LiDAR revealed it spans an area larger than modern-day London, with raised platforms connected by causeways in a radial pattern resembling a spider's web. The engineering is staggering. Elevation maps show the entire system slopes at a precise 1-degree gradient, ensuring water flows evenly through every channel. Indigenous oral histories describe the grid as Waracocha, a living map given to them by sky teachers who promised it would feed the land forever. Today, scientists confirm the soil within these grids remains unnaturally fertile, enriched by a lost technique that defies modern agronomy. The most provocative theory comes from physicist Dr. Marcos Villas-Boas, who analyzed LiDAR data from the Bolivian Amazon. He noted clusters of geometric structures arranged in Fibonacci spirals patterns found in superconductors and quantum energy models. Even stranger, some earthworks emit faint electromagnetic anomalies detectable with magnetometers. Villas-Boas speculates these could be remnants of resonant chambers designed to amplify vibrational frequencies for purposes we've yet to understand. Skeptics argue these patterns are merely the remnants of large-scale agriculture or flood control. But that doesn't explain the precision. Modern engineers using GPS and bulldozers struggle to replicate such exacting geometry, let alone sustain it across centuries of jungle growth. Meanwhile, tribes like the Ashaninka whisper of a time when the earthworks sang, producing tones that healed crops or summoned rain. Whether ceremonial or functional, these grids force us to reconsider the Amazon's ancient societies. They didn't just survive the jungle, they engineered it, possibly with knowledge that blurred the line between technology and spirituality. Every LiDAR scan peels back another layer, revealing a civilization that might have understood the Earth's energy in ways we're only beginning to fathom. In the tangled depths of the Amazon, where even sunlight struggles to reach the forest floor, a team of gold prospectors stumbled upon an object that defies explanation. A tiny, intricate metal gear, no larger than a coin, half buried in the mud of a remote riverbank. At first glance, it looked like a fragment of modern machinery, perhaps dropped by a passing miner. But when they pried it free, they realized this was no ordinary scrap. The gear's teeth were perfectly symmetrical, its surface unnaturally smooth, and it bore no traces of rust despite lying in damp soil for who knows how long. The artifact soon reached the hands of metallurgists whose analysis only deepened the mystery. Spectrographic tests revealed an alloy unlike anything in modern engineering databases, a blend of copper, arsenic, and an unidentified metallic element that produced a unique crystalline structure under magnification. Even stranger, the gear showed signs of having been cast at temperatures exceeding 1,200 degrees Celsius, a feat requiring advanced kiln technology unheard of in ancient Amazonian cultures. But the real shock came when researchers attempted to date the object. While radiocarbon dating was impossible, metal doesn't contain organic material. The layer of sediment where it was found suggested it had been undisturbed for at least 1,200 years. That places its origin around 800 CE, centuries before the Inca or any known Andean civilization had developed metalworking beyond simple hammered gold. Skeptics were quick to dismiss it as a hoax or a misplaced piece of modern equipment, but the gear's design tells a different story. Unlike industrial gears, which rely on rigid, standardized teeth, this artifact features a subtle curvature to its cogs, a design now known as cycloidal gearing. a configuration that minimizes friction and wear. Here's the catch: cycloidal gearing wasn't mathematically formalized until the 18th century by Swiss mathematician Leonhard Euler. So how did an ancient Amazonian culture, or whoever crafted this, stumble upon a principle that would take Europe another millennium to rediscover? Local legends might hold a clue. The Matsai-Junka people, who inhabit the region where the gear was found, speak of the Kirimbiri, mythical artisans who forged singing metals into tools that moved on their own. Their stories describe small, intricate objects like this gear as pieces of the sun, gifts from celestial beings who taught select tribes the secrets of metal. While anthropologists traditionally dismissed these accounts as allegory, the physical evidence now forces us to reconsider: could this gear be a remnant of that lost knowledge? The implications are staggering. If this artifact is genuine, it suggests the Amazon was home to a level of technological sophistication we've never credited to ancient societies. Not just simple metallurgy, but precision engineering capable of producing components that still baffle modern experts. And if one gear exists, how many more lie hidden in the jungle's embrace? Every uncharted bend in the river, every unexplored cave, could hold another piece of this puzzle waiting to rewrite history once more. Archaeologists have long catalogued Amazonian artifacts as primitive tools: stone axes, clay pots, woven baskets. But what if we've been mislabeling history? Hidden among these relics are objects that don't fit the narrative. Take the so-called ceremonial discs found in Ecuador's jungles, flat, circular stones with concentric grooves initially dismissed as ritual objects. Yet when engineers examined them, they noticed something peculiar. The grooves align with mathematical precision, forming patterns identical to modern rotary encoders, devices used to control the speed and position of machinery. Could these discs have been parts of a larger mechanical system, perhaps even a primitive generator or water wheel? Then there's the matter of the thunderstones, fist-sized rocks with unusual metallic veins, often dismissed as natural formations. But indigenous lore insists they were tools of the Ipaja, a race of sky smiths who used them to draw lightning from the clouds. Modern analysis reveals these stones contain high concentrations of magnetite and quartz, minerals known for their piezoelectric properties. When struck together, they produce sparks. Were they merely fire starters or components of something more sophisticated? In 2021, researchers in Peru uncovered a cache of similar stones arranged in a circular pattern, each spaced at intervals matching the wavelengths of low-frequency radio waves, an arrangement that, in theory, could amplify electromagnetic signals. Even everyday objects demand a second look. The fishing weights found along Amazonian riverbanks, for instance, small, tear-shaped stones with holes drilled through them. Archaeologists assumed they were sinkers for nets, but their uniformity is suspicious. Each weighs exactly 100 grams, with holes bored at the same angle, suggesting mass production. More intriguing, some are made of basalt, a stone not native to the regions where they're found. Transporting them would have required significant effort unless they served a purpose beyond fishing. Indigenous myths describe singing stones that, when hung from cords, could predict storms or locate underground water. Could these weights have been sensors, part of an ancient environmental monitoring system? The most provocative example comes from Bolivia's Beni region, where farmers occasionally unearth strange clay tubes glazed on the inside and tapered at both ends. Officially, they're labeled as blowgun barrels or ritual pipes, but their design is all wrong for either use. The interiors are too smooth, the walls too thin to withstand breath pressure. When a team of physicists tested them, they discovered something startling. When air is forced through these tubes at specific velocities, they emit a tone at exactly 52 Hz, a frequency known to disrupt certain chemical bonds. In modern labs, similar devices are used in sonochemical reactors to break down pollutants. Was this an ancient purification technology, repurposed over time into a child's toy or ceremonial object? These artifacts force us to confront an uncomfortable truth. The line between tool and machine is thinner than we think. A stone disc becomes a gear when paired with the right axle. A weighted cord transforms into a pendulum with the proper pivot. What if we've been staring at fragments of a lost technological lexicon, mistaking the alphabet for the entire language? The Amazon's ancients may not have had steel or silicon, but they understood principles: leverage, resonance, energy transfer that could be harnessed with the right materials. Perhaps the most telling clue lies in what's missing. Many of these artifacts are found in isolation, stripped of context: a gear without its axle, a tube without its chamber. It's like finding a single spark plug and declaring it a decorative bead. Without the rest of the engine, how can we grasp its true function? The jungle reclaims everything: wood rots, fibers dissolve, and with them, the connective tissue of ancient technology vanishes. What remains are the odd, indestructible fragments, waiting for us to recognize them not as curiosities, but as clues to a forgotten engineering tradition. This isn't just about rewriting history books, it's about humility. For centuries, we've measured ancient cultures against our own technological yardstick, declaring anything that doesn't fit as ritual or decoration. But the Amazon's artifacts whisper a different story, one where innovation took forms we're only beginning to recognize. The real question isn't whether these objects were tools or machines. It's whether we've been asking the right questions at all. The idea that beings from beyond Earth once walked the Amazon isn't just the stuff of sci-fi, it's embedded in the region's oldest stories. Tribal elders speak of a time when sky gods descended in vessels of fire, wielding tools that could melt stone or heal with a touch. The Kayapo people describe the Bep Kororoti, a radiant being clad in a strange, shimmering suit who taught them agriculture and medicine before vanishing back into the stars. The Disana tell of the Yeba below, celestial visitors who carved maps of the cosmos into cave walls and left behind singing crystals that hummed when held. These aren't isolated myths. Across the Amazon, dozens of cultures share eerily similar accounts of star-born teachers, always depicted with elongated skulls, towering stature, and artifacts resembling modern technology. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence lies in petroglyphs hidden along the Amazon's remote riverbanks. Near the town of Manaus, a series of rock carvings shows humanoid figures with bulbous heads and what appear to be handheld devices emitting beams of light. Nearby, another panel depicts a saucer-shaped object hovering above a village, its underside studded with concentric circles strikingly similar to modern UFO descriptions. Even more provocative are the Tartaria tablets found in Peru, small clay discs etched with spiraling symbols that match radio wave patterns. When physicist Dr. Paul Laviolette analyzed them, he noted the symbols corresponded to microwave frequencies capable of transmitting energy wirelessly. Were these ancient blueprints or mere coincidences? Then there's the enigma of the Chachapoya Cloud people, a pre-Incan civilization renowned for their towering stone cities perched on cliffsides. Their mummies, some with unnaturally elongated skulls, were found wrapped in textiles depicting winged beings with halo-like headgear. Spanish chronicler Pedro Cieza de Leon wrote in 1540 that the Chachapoya claimed descent from shining ones who arrived after the Great Flood, bearing knowledge of astronomy and architecture. Modern genetic testing on the mummies revealed something peculiar. Certain skulls contained DNA markers absent in other Native American populations, with trace sequences resembling nothing in known human haplogroups. Skeptics argue these stories are metaphorical or the result of post-colonial contamination, but the consistency is hard to ignore. Tribes separated by thousands of miles with no contact until recent centuries describe the same visitors always as benefactors, never conquerors. The Yawanawa even preserve a ritual where they don elaborate costumes mimicking their star ancestors, complete with mirrored visors and articulated metal rings resembling jointed armor. When shown images of modern astronauts, elders nodded knowingly, calling them the return of the old teachers. Perhaps the most haunting evidence comes from the Val de los Ingenios in Bolivia, where researchers uncovered a buried stone slab covered in glyphs. When deciphered using a cipher based on Shipibo-Kanibo symbolism, the text described a great vessel that landed in a fiery whirlwind, its inhabitants distributing boxes of wisdom before departing. Nearby, ground scans revealed a metallic mass buried 20 meters down a structure with right angles too precise to be natural. Attempts to excavate were halted by the local government, but spectrography detected an alloy of aluminum and an unknown element resembling descriptions of the orichalcum metal mentioned in Plato's Atlantis texts. Whether these accounts stem from extraterrestrial contact, advanced lost civilizations, or something even stranger, one thing is clear: the Amazon's people carried memories of beings and technologies that defy conventional history. These aren't just campfire tales, they're fragments of a narrative we're only beginning to piece together, one that challenges our understanding of humanity's past and our place in the cosmos. Among the Amazon's indigenous tribes, there exists a body of knowledge so advanced it blurs the line between ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science. Take the Shipibo-Kanibo people of Peru, whose healers known as Marayas perform rituals using intricately painted ceramics. At first glance, these designs appear purely decorative, but mathematicians who analyzed the patterns discovered something astonishing. The geometric sequences mirror fractal antenna designs used in modern wireless technology, capable of transmitting and receiving electromagnetic waves. Even more baffling, when these ceramics are struck or rubbed during ceremonies, they emit frequencies that measurably alter brainwave activity in participants, inducing states of heightened focus or relaxation, an effect identical to contemporary binaural beat therapy. Then there's the Tucano tribe's mastery of plant-based engineering. Their curea poison, used for hunting, is just the beginning. Shamans prepare a paste from rare vines that, when applied to wooden tools, hardens them to the density of steel. Metallurgists who tested this material found its molecular structure resembles carbon fiber composites, with plant fibers aligned in a lattice that defies natural growth patterns. The Tucano claim the recipe was given to them by the Yurupari spirit beings who emerged from waterfalls with green fire in their hands. Modern labs attempting to replicate the process have failed. The paste only achieves its properties when prepared during specific lunar phases, following chants that describe atomic bonding in poetic metaphor. Acoustic levitation legends are even more provocative. The Yanomami speak of the Hekura, tiny spirits summoned by shamans using graded sets of stone cylinders. When struck in sequence, these stones produce harmonic frequencies that elders claim lift the heaviest rocks. Skeptics dismissed this as myth until 2017, when a team from the University of Sao Paulo observed Yanomami rituals firsthand. High-speed cameras captured sand particles hovering in mid-air above the cylinders during specific tones, a phenomenon consistent with ultrasonic levitation experiments in modern physics. The tribe insists this knowledge comes from their ancestors, who rode the sound waves to construct megalithic sites now buried beneath the jungle. Perhaps most startling are the Ashaninka's light crystals. These translucent stones, found only in certain caves, are said to store sunlight for nighttime rituals. When handled by trained elders, the crystals emit a faint glow. Researchers analyzing them in 2020 identified traces of rare earth-doped phosphorus materials used today in LED technology. The Ashaninka say the stones were gifts from the Mara, celestial beings who taught them to speak to the light. These practices aren't superstition, their sophisticated applications of principled science is only now rediscovering. What Western researchers call acoustic resonance or piezoelectricity indigenous cultures describe as spirit songs or earth breath. The disconnect isn't in their understanding, but in our framing. Where we see physics, they see spirituality. Yet both point to the same truth. The Amazon's tribes have preserved fragments of a technological lexicon far older and far more advanced than we ever imagined. The real question isn't whether these practices work. It's whether we're prepared to accept that ancient wisdom might hold secrets our laboratories are still struggling to decode. Every chant, every ritual, every carefully prepared plant compound could be a living relic of a science we've yet to fully comprehend, one where the boundaries between machine, nature, and energy aren't just blurred but non-existent. Modern expeditions into the Amazon have armed themselves with tools far beyond the compass and machete, cutting-edge technology like ground-penetrating radar, LiDAR scanners, and quantum magnetometers. And what they're finding is rewriting the rulebook. In 2018, a joint Brazilian-German team mapping the northern Amazon detected bizarre magnetic anomalies near the Rio Negro. Normally, Earth's magnetic field fluctuates in predictable patterns, but here, the readings spiked wildly localized distortions forming perfect rings, some spanning hundreds of meters. When researchers drilled core samples, they hit layers of a previously unknown mineral composite laced with iron isotopes that, under lab conditions, exhibited superconducting properties at room temperature. Indigenous guides refused to approach the site, calling it Watorikibar, the place where the Earth's bones hum. Then there's the mystery of the Xingu crystalline formations. In 2021, archaeologists using aerial thermal imaging spotted a series of geometrically arranged stone platforms deep in Mato Grosso. Up close, the stones weren't just placed, they were fused, as if subjected to intense heat that welded their surfaces without cracking them. Spectrographic analysis revealed traces of corundum, a mineral used in industrial abrasives, and patterns of vitrification typically seen in nuclear test sites or meteor impacts. But the real shock came when anthropologists cross-referenced the site with tribal star charts. The platforms align precisely with the position of Orion's belt as it appeared over the Amazon 3,000 years ago, down to the minute of arc. That's a level of astronomical precision we'd expect from ancient Babylonian astronomers with brass sextants, not jungle cultures without written language. Perhaps the most unsettling discovery comes from the Boiling River region of Peru. Scientists from National Geographic documented a network of underground channels where water reaches near boiling temperatures without volcanic activity. Submersibles exploring these tunnels in 2019 recorded sonar images of smooth, cylindrical chambers carved into bedrock, their walls lined with an unidentified ceramic-like material that repels mineral deposits. Even stranger, water samples contained nanoparticles of gold and platinum in ratios that defy natural erosion patterns. Local Matsuyunka shamans say the tunnels are the Serapagari, the veins of the world, and speak of ancestors who used singing stones to purify the waters. Modern engineers can't explain how the chambers maintain constant pressure without collapse, though their design mirrors theoretical models for geothermal battery structures that could harness Earth's heat as an energy source. Every expedition seems to uncover another layer of the impossible. In 2023, a drone survey over Acre State revealed a half-buried monolith covered in glyphs resembling circuit diagrams. When cleaned, the surface conducted electricity, with certain symbols acting as conductive pathways. Tribal elders identified the markings as Yuxubu, the language of the first people, and warned that touching the activated glyphs could wake the old fires. Teams attempting to carbon date the monolith got inconsistent results. The outer layers suggested an age of 1,500 years, while the core material registered as older than the Amazon basin itself. These aren't just anomalies, they're fingerprints, something in the Amazon's past left behind traces of knowledge. We're only beginning to measure knowledge that challenges our timeline of human innovation. Whether it's the product of a lost civilization or something more enigmatic, one thing is clear. The jungle has been keeping secrets, and with every scan, every core sample, we're getting closer to truths that could dismantle the boundaries between history and legend. Beneath the gilded vaults of private collectors and hidden behind the guarded doors of elite auction houses, some of the Amazon's most baffling artifacts remain locked away from the world, objects that could rewrite history if only scientists were allowed to examine them. Among these treasures are metallic discs with unreadable glyphs, fragments of machinery composed of alloys unmatched by modern metallurgy, and even what some claim to be components of ancient energy devices. But these relics aren't gathering dust in museums or research labs. Instead, they're displayed as trophies in the mansions of billionaires or traded in secretive deals among a shadowy network of artifact hunters, far from the scrutiny of academia. Take the infamous Manaus sphere, a perfectly smooth metal orb reportedly discovered in a riverbank near the Brazilian city of Manaus in the 1990s. Eyewitnesses described it as emitting a faint hum when handled and reacting to changes in temperature by shifting color, a property consistent with smart metals used in modern aerospace engineering. Within days of its discovery, it vanished into the hands of a European industrialist who allegedly keeps it sealed in a climate-controlled display case. Despite repeated requests from researchers, not a single independent study has been permitted. The collector insists it's merely a curiosity, but those who have glimpsed it swear its surface bears markings resembling circuit diagrams, an impossibility for any pre-Columbian artifact. Then there's the Yanomami Codex, a set of interlocking metal plates inscribed with symbols that mirror mathematical equations. A tribal elder entrusted it to a missionary in the 1970s, hoping its wisdom would be shared with the world. Instead, it was sold to a Singapore-based tech mogul for an undisclosed sum. When linguists managed to obtain a single photograph through an insider, they identified patterns matching fractal geometry concepts not formally documented until the 20th century. The collector refuses all inquiries, calling it a personal passion project. This isn't just about ownership, it's a moral crisis. Every artifact locked away in private hands represents a missing piece of humanity's puzzle. Indigenous communities, already stripped of so much by colonization, watch as their ancestral legacy is commodified. The Kayapo people have fought for decades to reclaim a set of ceremonial rods said to produce electric currents when struck together, a phenomenon documented by a French explorer in 1894 before the rods were acquired by a mining tycoon. Tribal leaders call it theft, the collector calls it preservation. Even more troubling are the rumors of deliberate suppression. In 2016, a retired looter confessed on his deathbed to smuggling a crate of metallic artifacts out of Peru in the 1980s, including what he described as a box of gears that moved on its own when exposed to moonlight. The artifacts were sold to a Middle Eastern royal family who allegedly commissioned a team of engineers to study them. None of those findings were ever published. When archaeologists petitioned for access, they received a terse reply. The artifacts were lost in a private fire. The ethical lines blur further when collectors argue they're protecting these objects from bureaucratic red tape or unstable governments. But history teaches us that knowledge hoarded is knowledge lost. The Dresden Codex, a Maya manuscript that revealed advanced astronomical calculations, spent centuries hidden in a nobleman's library before scholars rediscovered it. How many more breakthroughs are sitting in vaults waiting for a billionaire's whim to release them? Some argue for a middle ground, a system where private collectors loan artifacts to accredited institutions for study. But even that has pitfalls. In 2019, a consortium of universities negotiated temporary access to a set of Amazonian crystals rumored to amplify sound waves. The owner allowed scans, but under strict conditions, no testing that might cause damage or devaluation. The results inconclusive. The crystals were returned, their secrets intact. This isn't just a battle over objects, it's a clash of worldviews, one that pits profit against progress, ownership against understanding. The Amazon's ancient engineers left no written records. Their legacy is encoded in the very artifacts we're now locking away. Until collectors recognize that history belongs to humanity, not individuals, we may never know how deep their genius truly ran. The Amazon's enigmatic artifacts don't exist in isolation. They're part of a far broader and far stranger global tapestry of ancient technology. Take the Baghdad battery, a 2,000-year-old clay jar discovered in Iraq containing a copper cylinder and iron rod that, when filled with an acidic solution, could generate a measurable electric current. For decades, archaeologists dismissed it as a ritual object until experiments proved its electrochemical potential. Now, imagine that same principle applied to the Amazon's conductive crystal veins or the humming monoliths that tribes say wake the old fires. Half a world apart, these artifacts suggest our ancestors weren't just dabbling in rudimentary tools, they were experimenting with energy. Then there's the Antikythera mechanism, a complex bronze gear system recovered from a Greek shipwreck, capable of predicting astronomical events with precision that rivaled clocks invented 2,000 years later. For centuries, scholars called it an anomaly, until researchers realized its design echoed celestial calculators described in Mayan codices, and according to some interpretations, the star maps embedded in Amazonian earthworks. Could these have been fragments of a shared knowledge system, a technological lingua franca lost to time? The connections grow deeper. In Egypt's Temple of Hathor, hieroglyphs depict what appear to be light bulbs, elongated vessels with snaking filaments inside, eerily similar to the glowing stones described by the Ashaninka. In India's Vedas, ancient texts speak of vimanas, flying machines powered by rotating mercury engines, a concept that mirrors indigenous accounts of the Bep-Kororoti's fiery chariots. Even the Amazon's metallic spheres find their twins in Costa Rica's stone orbs and the hollow, sound-emitting spheres reportedly found in Tibetan caves. What if these weren't independent inventions but nodes in a vast, interconnected network? A global exchange of ideas and technologies long before Columbus or the Silk Road. The conventional view insists ancient civilizations developed in isolation, but the evidence whispers otherwise. Trade routes we've yet to uncover, migrations lost to oral histories. Or perhaps something more radical, a predecessor culture, advanced enough to seed these ideas across continents before collapsing into myth. The Amazon's role in this puzzle might be pivotal. Its isolation preserved what elsewhere was plundered or erased. Where Egyptian obelisks were repurposed as quarry stones and Mayan libraries burned by conquistadors, the jungle guarded its secrets in plain sight. Every unearthed gear, every humming tunnel could be a clue not just to local history, but to a forgotten chapter of human ingenuity. This isn't just about rewriting the past, it's about redefining what's possible. If cultures separated by oceans and millennia were tinkering with the same advanced concepts, what does that say about human potential? The Amazon might hold the key to a truth we're only beginning to grasp, that our ancestors were far closer to unlocking the mysteries of energy, engineering, and the cosmos than we ever dared imagine. Skeptics have long dismissed the Amazon's enigmatic artifacts as quirks of nature or the handiwork of modern hoaxers. They argue that the perfectly spherical stones could be the result of millennia of erosion, rolling in riverbeds until smoothed into symmetry. The metallic fragments, discarded mining equipment from the rubber boom or colonial-era expeditions. Even the geometric earthworks visible from space are sometimes brushed off as the remnants of ancient agricultural projects, nothing more than overgrown irrigation ditches. But the closer you examine these counterarguments, the more they unravel under scrutiny. Take the stone spheres. Geologists point out that natural erosion rarely produces such mathematical precision, especially when multiple spheres in a cluster share near identical diameters. In Costa Rica, where similar spheres were confirmed as man-made, archaeologists found chisel marks and evidence of polishing tools. The Amazonian versions are no different. Microscopic analysis reveals striations consistent with deliberate shaping, not random wear, and then there's their placement arranged in lines or celestial patterns that defy coincidence. If nature sculpted these stones, why would it also alphabetize them? The hoax theory collapses just as quickly. Many of these artifacts were documented centuries before modern machinery existed. Take the Manaus sphere with its shifting colors and eerie hum. Even today, replicating such a feat would require nanotechnology and smart alloys materials far beyond the reach of random pranksters in the rainforest. And consider the logistics. Who would haul tons of sculpted stone or intricate metalwork into the jungle's most inaccessible corners, only to leave them where few would ever see them? The idea strains credulity more than the artifacts themselves. Then there's the argument that indigenous legends are unreliable, mere myths distorted over time. But when multiple isolated tribes with no contact for millennia describe the same metal birds or singing stones, the odds of independent fabrication vanish. Ethnographers have documented these stories since the first European contact, long before modern technology could influence their details. The Tucano's vine-hardening paste, the Yanomamis' levitating cylinders, these aren't vague allegories. They are precise accounts of effects we can now measure in labs. Perhaps the most damning rebuttal to skeptics comes from the dirt itself. Stratigraphy doesn't lie. Many artifacts are found in undisturbed layers dating back thousands of years, often beneath centuries of sediment, the gear embedded in the riverbank. Sealed under 1,200 years of mud, the vitrified glass fields fused into geological strata older than the pyramids. These objects aren't recent implants. They've slept in the earth, waiting for us to question our assumptions. The truth is, skepticism often masks a deeper discomfort. Accepting that ancient peoples might have possessed advanced technology forces us to confront the fragility of our own historical narrative. We're taught that progress is linear, that each generation builds on the last in a steady march toward innovation. But what if history isn't a straight line? What if it's a spiral with forgotten peaks of genius buried in its coils? The Amazon's artifacts don't just challenge our timelines, they demand humility. After all, nature doesn't carve circuit diagrams into monoliths. Rivers don't arrange metallic fragments into gear trains, and hoaxers don't leave behind clues that outpace their own era's understanding. The jungle's secrets aren't anomalies. They're invitations to dig deeper, to question louder, and to admit that the past might hold wonders we're only beginning to recognize. Deep in the Amazon, where the humid air carries whispers of the past, certain ruins defy the ordinary laws of acoustics. At the ancient site of Chavín de Huanta in Peru, the spiritual heart of a civilization that thrived over 2,000 years ago, engineers discovered something extraordinary. The labyrinthine tunnels beneath its stone temples don't just echo sound, they transform it. A single conch shell trumpet blown in one corridor can be heard clearly hundreds of meters away, yet stepping just a few feet outside the structure renders the sound inaudible. The walls, carved with precision, act like natural amplifiers, channeling specific frequencies with eerie precision. Even more baffling, certain chambers resonate at exactly 112 Hz, a frequency modern studies link to altered states of consciousness, often used in meditation and vibrational therapy today. Then there's the Huaca de la Luna in northern Peru, where wind passing through its honeycombed walls produces harmonic tones resembling a choir. Archaeologists initially assumed this was accidental until they found evidence the builders deliberately adjusted the size and shape of each cavity to tune the vibrations. Local Mach descendants still speak of ceremonies where priests used these sounds to open the mind to the gods, a practice mirrored in legends from the Amazon's Yogwa people who describe stones that sing when the wind prays. The connection between these ruins and indigenous oral traditions grows stronger with each discovery. The Ashaninka tell of Pirinku, a sacred valley where certain rocks emit tones when struck, capable of mending broken bones or quieting storms. For centuries, ethnographers dismissed this as metaphor until 2020, when geologists studying a remote plateau in Acre, Brazil, found slabs of quartzite that vibrate at consistent frequencies when tapped. Lab tests confirmed these stones produce infrasound, frequencies below human hearing that can induce physiological effects like reduced pain or heightened focus. The Ashaninka weren't spinning myths, they were preserving acoustic medicine. Perhaps the most compelling evidence lies in the Weri cultures, whispering galleries, oval plazas where a speaker's voice can travel hundreds of feet with unnatural clarity, even in roaring rain. Modern architects struggle to replicate this effect without digital modeling, yet these structures predate the Roman Colosseum by a millennium. The secret. Microscopic analysis reveals the Weri mixed crushed magnetite into their mortar, a mineral known to refract sound waves in precise patterns. What does this mean? The Amazon's ancients didn't just build with stone, they engineered with sound, harnessing its properties for purposes we're only beginning to grasp. From healing frequencies to long-distance communication, these technologies blur the line between archaeology and acoustics. And with every carved tunnel, every humming monolith, we're forced to ask, were these cultures not just advanced but tuned into a vibrational science we've yet to fully rediscover? The dense foliage of the Amazon hides more than just wildlife. Some explorers swear they've glimpsed the angular silhouettes of pyramids rising through the green canopy. These so-called white pyramids aren't built from the limestone blocks of Egypt or the steppe terraces of Mesoamerica. Instead, locals describe them as colossal earth and stone structures, their surfaces once gleaming with a pale, metallic sheen before centuries of vines and sediment swallowed them whole. Reports of these lost monuments date back to the early 20th century, when British explorer Colonel Percy Fawcett wrote in his journals about indigenous guides leading him to great white temple mounds deep in uncharted territory. He described smooth, polished facades that caught the moonlight like mirrors, and staircases that vanished into the undergrowth details that sound more like sci-fi than archaeology. Satellite imagery adds fuel to the mystery. In 2014, Brazilian researchers analyzing deforestation patterns in Acre State noticed unusual geometric formations beneath the tree cover structures with symmetrical bases and sloping sides that bore an uncanny resemblance to the pyramids of Teotihuacan or Giza. Ground surveys revealed something even stranger. Soil samples from these sites contained abnormally high concentrations of rare metals like iridium and osmium, elements typically found in meteorites or high-tech alloys, not jungle ruins. Some sections even showed signs of vitrification, as if exposed to extreme heat that fused the stone into glass-like patches. The parallels to other ancient pyramid cultures are hard to ignore. Like the Egyptians who aligned their pyramids with celestial events, the Amazonian structures seem positioned to mark solstices. One cluster in the upper Rio Negro forms a near-perfect equilateral triangle when mapped, mirroring the layout of Giza's three great pyramids. Then there's the construction. While Egypt's monuments relied on quarried stone and Mesoamerican pyramids used rubble cores faced with plaster, the Amazon's versions appear to blend techniques. Earthen mounds reinforced with a cement-like binder mixed with metallic fragments, creating a composite material lighter than stone but astonishingly durable. Indigenous oral histories call these pyramids Waka Pona, houses of the sky people, claiming their ancestors didn't build them but found them already ancient when they first arrived in the region. But here's where the story twists. Unlike the pyramids of Egypt or Mexico, which served as tombs or temples, the Amazonian structures might have had a more practical purpose. Thermal imaging shows hollow chambers beneath several mounds, some radiating faint heat signatures. When researchers probed one site with ground-penetrating radar, they detected a network of tunnels leading to a central chamber filled with what appears to be a conductive fluid, possibly mercury, a substance the pre-Columbian Maya used in ritual pools. Could these pyramids have functioned as energy hubs, tapping into geothermal vents or even atmospheric currents? The Matses people tell of a great humming stone buried beneath the largest pyramid, said to vibrate during storms, a detail that echoes modern experiments with piezoelectric materials. Archaeologists remain divided. Skeptics argue these are natural formations or later colonial earthworks, though neither theory explains the metallic traces or precise geometry. The truth might lie in the jungle's relentless reclaiming of history. Unlike the desert-preserved monuments of Egypt, the Amazon's humidity and vegetation erode structures within centuries. What we're seeing now could be the skeletal remains of something far more complex, a civilization that mastered materials science in ways we're only beginning to recognize. If these white pyramids are real, they don't just rewrite Amazonian history, they stitch it into a global tapestry of ancient innovation. From the quartz-capped peaks of Bosnia's controversial Pyramid Valley to China's mercury-filled tomb of the first emperor, it seems our ancestors shared an obsession with harnessing the Earth's hidden energies. The Amazon's overgrown monuments might be the missing link, proof that advanced engineering wasn't confined to the deserts and highlands but flourished even in the world's most unforgiving jungle. Stretching beneath the Amazon like veins of forgotten power, vast networks of quartz deposits form a hidden skeleton beneath the jungle floor. These crystal-rich seams aren't just geological accidents, they pulse with energy. Quartz, a mineral known for its piezoelectric properties, generates electricity when compressed or vibrated. Modern technology harnesses this for everything from watches to sonar, but what if ancient civilizations discovered the same principle? Indigenous legends speak of singing stones and earth lightning, tales that take on new weight when you realize many sacred sites sit directly atop these quartz veins. The Kayapo people still perform rituals near outcrops they call mekarantai, the bones of the world, where certain rocks hum when struck during thunderstorms. Scientists measuring these sites found electromagnetic anomalies with spikes in conductivity matching local accounts of spirit fires that flicker without heat. Then there's the eerily precise alignment of megaliths and earthworks. The Samoma geoglyphs, massive geometric trenches in northern Brazil, mirror the paths of underground quartz deposits detectable by satellite. Even more striking, the stone circles at Calçoene align not just with solstice sunrises but with intersecting ley lines. Hypothetical energy channels some researchers believe ancient cultures mapped and exploited. When archaeologists excavated one such junction, they uncovered a slab of pure quartz crystal carved with spiral glyphs, its surface pitted with microscopic grooves resembling circuit traces. Tribal elders identified it as a tepui kuarachi, a star compass used by ancestors to draw power from the sky. Skeptics scoff, but engineers replicating the design found it amplified radio waves by over 300% when placed atop resonant quartz. The jungle's very topography hints at deliberate energy manipulation. In Bolivia's Pando region, concentric terraces descend like staircases into the earth, their curves following the natural resonance frequency of the bedrock. When researchers from the University of La Paz simulated water flow through these structures, the resulting vibrations matched the exact frequency needed to activate piezoelectricity in local quartz. Coincidence? The nearby Chiquitano people don't think so. Their oral histories describe these terraces as Itacaguasu, the Great Battery, claiming they once powered sky mirrors that illuminated entire cities. Modern laser scans reveal metallic residues embedded in the stone, traces of an alloy that, when analyzed, appears optimized for electron transfer. Perhaps the most compelling evidence lies in the Amazon's infamous ghost lights, floating orbs of blue-white light documented for centuries along specific riverways. Scientists typically dismiss these as swamp gas or bioluminescence, but a 2020 expedition armed with spectrometers recorded something unnerving. The lights emitted a frequency identical to quartz resonance, and they clustered near geological fault lines where tectonic stress would squeeze crystal deposits. Even stranger, indigenous Yachtsex shamans demonstrated how to summon the lights by striking certain stones in sequence, creating a harmonic vibration that seemed to wake the phenomenon. To the shamans, this wasn't parlor tricks, it was ancestral engineering, a remnant of when their people talked to the Earth's heartbeat. If these fragments of knowledge point to a larger system, the implications are staggering. Ley lines, often dismissed as pseudoscience, might represent something tangible, a lattice of natural energy harnessed through material science we're only now rediscovering. The Amazon's ancients could have built not just monuments but a grid, turning the jungle itself into a conductor for forces we're still struggling to measure. Every humming monolith, every strategically placed megalith, might be a node in a lost power network, whispering secrets about a civilization that didn't just live in harmony with the Earth, but plugged directly into its pulse. The challenge now isn't just finding more evidence, it's learning to see the jungle as they did. Not as an obstacle, but as a living machine, its crystalline veins humming with untapped potential. Perhaps the real treasure hidden in the Amazon isn't gold or artifacts, but the blueprint for a technology that merges geology and energy, waiting for us to decipher its spark. Among the whispering leaves and hidden river paths of the Amazon, certain tribes are said to hold knowledge that defies centuries of presumed history, secrets passed down through generations, guarded with the same intensity as the jungle guards its ruins. The Yanomami shamans still prepare a sacred paste called yakona, inhaled during rituals to commune with spirits, but modern chemists analyzing the compound discovered something startling. When exposed to sunlight, the paste releases a metallic vapor that self-assembles into microscopic conductive filaments, a process resembling modern nanowire fabrication. The shamans call it the breath of the sky people, a substance that lets them see through time. Then there are the Kayapo's legendary astronomers who navigate the jungle's endless green using star maps etched into polished stone discs. Western researchers initially dismissed these as primitive constellations until an astrophysicist noticed the discs included precise orbital paths of planets invisible to the naked eye, like Uranus and Neptune. Even more baffling, some maps depict celestial events that wouldn't occur for millennia, like the alignment of Jupiter's moons in 2179. When asked how they knew, elders simply tapped the discs and said, "The old ones wrote the future here." Metallurgical secrets run even deeper. The Ashaninka possess a technique for smelting ore using a clay furnace lined with crushed crystal. The result isn't crude ingots, but thin, flexible sheets of an alloy resembling shape memory metal, a material that remembers its form when heated, used today in everything from eyeglass frames to spacecraft. No one outside the tribe has replicated the process. The exact mix of minerals and chanting rhythms remains a closely guarded ritual. Elders claim the method was taught to them by the Viracochas, pale-skinned visitors who emerged from the forest with tools that bent the earth. Perhaps most astonishing is the Tucano's mastery of botany. Their healers prepare a concoction from rare vines that, when ingested, allows individuals to detect underground water sources with near-perfect accuracy. Scientists studying this ability found it correlates with a temporary spike in the drinker's magnetite levels, a mineral used by migratory birds for navigation. The Tucano say the recipe was a gift from the Yurupari spirit beings who wore shells that shone like the moon and carried sticks that drew lightning. These aren't isolated quirks of culture, they're fragments of a sophisticated technical lexicon preserved in ritual and story. The Shipibo Kanibo paint intricate geometric designs on pottery, patterns that, when analyzed by mathematicians, form perfect acoustic diffraction gratings, structures used in modern sound engineering to manipulate frequencies. The tribe insists these designs are the songs of the universe made visible, taught to them by ancestors who could hear the colors of the wind. The question isn't whether these peoples developed these techniques independently. It's whether they're the inheritors of a far older tradition, one that fused technology and spirituality into something we've only begun to recognize. When a Matsais shaman demonstrates how to charge a quartz crystal by humming at a specific pitch, producing measurable voltage, or when a Yawanawa elder predicts solar flares days in advance using a wooden calendar aligned to no known celestial cycle, we're left staring at a puzzle with missing pieces. These tribes don't see their knowledge as lost or ancient. To them, it's living wisdom as vital as the rivers that feed the jungle. The real mystery isn't how they preserved these secrets, it's why the rest of the world stopped listening. Every chant, every ritual, every carefully guarded recipe might be a thread leading back to a civilization that understood the fabric of reality in ways we're still struggling to measure. And if we're willing to learn, the Amazon's last guardians might just hold the keys to unlocking it. Government restrictions in the Amazon aren't just bureaucratic red tape, they're a modern-day enigma wrapped in layers of secrecy. Take Brazil's Alcantara spaceport, a heavily guarded facility in the heart of Maranhão's rainforest, where military patrols enforce a no-fly zone over an area twice the size of New York City. Officially, it's for national security, but locals whisper of artifacts recovered during construction, ancient metallic objects with unnatural properties, swiftly confiscated by officials. Then there's Sierra del Divisa, a Peruvian reserve straddling the Brazilian border, where satellite images reveal geometric earthworks eerily similar to the Inca geoglyphs. Yet access is barred, with permits denied under vague, ecological preservation justifications. Coincidence or calculated containment? The rumors grow darker in Colombia's Caribecuit National Park, a UNESCO site so restricted that even researchers face years of vetting. Indigenous elders there speak of a Valley of the Ancients, where towering monoliths covered in glyphs hum at dawn. A team of geologists accidentally stumbled upon the site in 2012 while surveying oil deposits. Their report described a slab of polished stone that conducted electricity, its surface etched with circuitry-like patterns. Days later, the government declared the zone off-limits, citing sensitive biodiversity. The researchers' photos and notes vanished from official records. Why the cover-ups? One theory points to economic stakes. The Amazon isn't just a treasure trove of biodiversity, it's a gold mine of rare earth minerals essential for modern tech. Lithium, niobium, and titanium deposits lie beneath many archaeological hotspots, creating a clash between preservation and profit. When Venezuelan soldiers cordoned off Cerro Ortana in 2019, they claimed it was to protect sacred Tepuy Mountains. Yet leaked memos revealed interest in the mountain's unique quartz formations, which local Pairoa shamans say power the stones that remember. But what if the secrecy runs deeper? Declassified CIA files from the 1960s reference anomalous energy emissions in the Amazon basin, with agents documenting tribal rituals that allegedly triggered bursts of light from underground structures. One memo describes a Shuar ceremony in Ecuador where elders used chants to activate a stone altar, producing a beam detectable by radar. The file concludes with a chilling recommendation: monitor and suppress. Today, areas like Cordillera del Condor remain militarized, with outsiders accused of espionage for merely photographing rock formations, the most provocative angle. Whistleblower testimony. In 2017, a retired Brazilian army engineer came forward, claiming his unit had escorted scientists to a subterranean chamber near the Rio Negro. Inside, they found a network of crystalline walls emitting low-frequency vibrations, a phenomenon he compared to standing inside a tuning fork. the team was ordered to seal the entrance and sign non-disclosure agreements. His account mirrors indigenous tales of Xibalba, a labyrinth where the Earth's voice guides the worthy. Whether these restrictions stem from greed, paranoia, or something more extraordinary, one truth emerges: the Amazon isn't just hiding ruins. It may be safeguarding secrets that rewrite history, or even hold keys to technologies we've yet to reinvent. Every cordoned-off zone, every silenced researcher adds weight to the question: what's so valuable that it must be kept in the dark? The answer might lie where the jungle is thickest and the government's grip tightest. If machines were indeed buried in the Amazon, their discovery wouldn't just be a footnote in history, it would tear open the entire book. For centuries, the narrative of human progress has been a straight line: hunter-gatherers to farmers, farmers to city builders, and eventually to the industrial age. But what if that line is a circle? Imagine a civilization in the heart of the jungle, crafting precision gears, harnessing energy, and engineering acoustically tuned temples, all while Europe was still in its Bronze Age. This isn't just about adding a new chapter, it's about rewriting the table of contents. Take metallurgy as an example. Conventional history credits the Hittites of ancient Anatolia with pioneering iron smelting around 1500 BC. Yet the Amazon's strange alloys, like the self-polishing sphere found near Manaus or the gear with cycloidal teeth, suggest someone else mastered advanced metalworking centuries earlier, possibly with techniques we've yet to replicate. And it's not just about who did it first, it's about how. The Amazon's humid, oxygen-rich environment is brutal on metal, corroding even modern steel within years. If ancient engineers found ways to create rust-proof alloys or shape metals without forges, their knowledge could revolutionize materials science today. Then there's the puzzle of scale. The pyramids of Egypt and the ziggurats of Mesopotamia have long been held up as proof of early centralized power monuments requiring thousands of laborers under rigid hierarchies. But the Amazon's earthworks and underground tunnels suggest a different model. Instead of top-down rule, these projects might have been collaborative, with decentralized tribes contributing to vast networks of canals, roads, and energy grids. It's a vision of civilization that challenges our obsession with kings and empires, hinting at societies that thrived without the whip of a pharaoh or the edict of a Caesar. The most unsettling implication, the possibility of a reset. If the Amazon housed advanced cultures, what wiped them out? Climate shifts, disease, or something more sinister, like the remnants of their own technology. The vitrified glass fields and hollowed-out quartz veins hint at energy experiments gone awry, a cautionary tale buried in the jungle. And if that's true, our own technological sprint might not be the first. We could be repeating a cycle older than memory, building toward a cliff we've already driven off once before. But perhaps the greatest shift would be in our understanding of indigenous knowledge. For too long, the brilliance of Amazonian tribes has been dismissed as folk wisdom or myth. Yet their oral histories preserve details of machines, star maps, and energy systems that align with modern physics. If we'd listened sooner, how much further might we be? The descendants of these builders still walk the jungle, guarding secrets in chants and rituals. Their ancestors might not have left behind instruction manuals, but they left clues in the hum of a stone, the curve of a gear, the alignment of a geoglyph. The real question isn't whether we're ready to rewrite history, it's whether we're humble enough to learn from it. This isn't just about the past, it's about the future. If the Amazon's ancients cracked the code of sustainable energy, acoustic medicine, or self-repairing materials, their legacy could solve crises we're only now facing. The jungle hasn't just been hiding artifacts, it's been holding up a mirror, showing us a reflection of what humanity once was and what we might yet become again. The machines rusting under vines aren't relics, they're invitations. The Amazon isn't just a rainforest, it's a living archive of secrets that defy everything we thought we knew about ancient civilizations. From precision-engineered gears buried in riverbanks to vast acoustic temples humming with resonant frequencies, the evidence is stacking up. Think about those metallic spheres, polished to mirror like perfection, or the underground tunnels lined with conductive materials that still emit mysterious energy signatures. These aren't random artifacts, they're fragments of a technological puzzle scattered across a jungle that's been guarding its secrets for millennia. What makes these discoveries so electrifying isn't just their existence, it's the implications. The Amazon's ancients weren't just surviving, they were innovating. They manipulated sound to heal, harnessed quartz to channel energy, and possibly even built machines that rival our own. And yet, their story has been dismissed, overlooked, or locked away in private collections. Why? Because it challenges the comfortable narrative of linear progress, forcing us to confront the possibility that advanced knowledge isn't a modern monopoly. It might be a rediscovery. Consider the indigenous wisdom that's been marginalized for centuries. Tribes like the Kayapo and the Yanomami didn't just inherit myths, they preserved blueprints. Their oral histories describe technologies we're only now beginning to measure. Levitating stones, star maps etched with impossible precision, alloys that defy corrosion. These aren't fairy tales, they're oral textbooks waiting for us to decipher their equations. So where does this leave us? On the brink of rewriting history, but only if we're willing to question the stories we've been told. The Amazon's ruins aren't relics of a primitive past. They're clues to a forgotten future, one where humanity's potential wasn't limited by the tools we thought we had. Every undiscovered tunnel, every unstudied artifact could hold the key to unlocking breakthroughs we've yet to imagine. The real adventure isn't just uncovering these secrets, it's daring to ask what else might be out there, hidden in plain sight. The jungle's whispers are growing louder. Are we ready to listen?